Hi, I'm Gretchen. Today we're going to make some super simple ornaments, both flat and round. And the flat are just these basic flat ceramic that came from Michael's. They're on big sale now because I know it's closer to Christmas. I got sick. I meant to do this earlier, but didn't get a chance. One of my favorite things I always say about decoupage is that you can make it whatever you want. So like I found this beautiful napkin that I loved, and it's the perfect color for our house in North Carolina. So I'm really excited to, I made several of those to put on my tree down there. But the flat ornaments are fun because you can also use them as wine tags and or embellishments for a gift. So like, look how cute this little Santa looks on here. And obviously it's an additional gift, but I just think it's really sweet. So you should have everything together. We've got the, I'm gonna be using the Duraclear Deco Art varnish on these. So you'll need that, whatever it is, whatever ornament it is that you're gonna decoupage, your brushes, your files and or buffers, which I'll show you what I use. And then, and if you want to add gold, then there's a paint pen that I showed in the beginning, or the Tester's paint that also works really well. So let's get started. Okay, so this is what the ornaments look like out of the box. I don't like this ribbon, and I also like the top of this to be fully covered. So I'm gonna clip that off. And when I first started working with these, I did not do anything to this. I just started decoupaging straight on this. What I realized is that it was actually a little grittier than I realized. So the first thing I do is sand them. And I have these little blocks that I get in a big, huge pack from Amazon, and I love them. They work really easily. So what I'm gonna do, and I really would rather not do this on the saran wrap so it doesn't get on my project, is just do a light sanding. Normally I do this over a garbage can. And just sand both sides to make sure it's smooth. You can see that, look at all that comes off. And then I also do these edges because I'm gonna gild these later and I just want them to be smooth. So you see that. Now I'm gonna get this off and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my round one that I've already sanded, and the first thing I'm gonna do is take a little coat of this gloss, and I take my Duraclear and I put it in a mason jar, which makes it just much easier for me to kind of cap it off, and I don't have to guess at how much I need to put out on a plate or an artist palette. So I'm gonna start by doing a little thin coat. You wanna make sure you get the edges. That's really important because you want it to adhere to those sides. And then when you get up top, I just try and stay a little light because I don't want too much dripping through that. It's not a huge deal if it does, but it gets kind of yucked up. So once I have that on there, then all I have to do is, these I've already cut out. These are tissue from Zazzle because I just love this guy's face. And if I had napkins, I would be removing the back 2 layers, but since they're regular tissue, and you'll see like this side has a crease on it, which is great for these types of ornaments because it's bigger than the ornament itself. So I can use it and get it off of there. So then I take saran wrap. These are a little easier to work with because they're thicker, which I don't like for some rounded items, but I don't mind them for this flat. And I'm gonna start in the middle, like I would if I was baking using fondant or something where you just wanna go from the center out. And if you look, pretty darn smooth. Lots of people love to iron these. I had some issues when I was ironing, and I have found that doing it this way, it's just as flat. So obviously to each his own. It's fun to learn different methods, but this is just the easy way that I have found to do it. And one of the things, you can see there's a tiny wrinkle there. It's no big deal. One of the things I love about decoupage is it's really taught me to be a little bit less of a perfectionist. There's almost always a wrinkle somewhere. And so I've just kind of learned to embrace that. So now that I have him all solidly pressed in here, I am going to wait and probably let it dry for about half an hour before I file off the edges. A lot of people will just immediately go and tear or file, but I like to kind of let it sit solidly first. Quick little tip, in between all these steps, I just take my brush, Gretchen, my brush, and I wrap it real tightly in saran wrap just to keep it from starting to harden, because sometimes it'll start to harden a little bit, and I don't really want to clean it out necessarily in between each step. So this guy's been sitting a little bit longer, and again, I use these little tiny files for all of it. You can also use, if you like to start with this big emery board, and when I start, I go always away from the ornament because I don't want to pull it back up necessarily. Now, there's a chance that it's not solid. You can even hear it right there. It's a little loose on the side, and that's fine. And that's one of the reasons that for me, I like this better than ironing, because it would cause problems if I didn't have it perfectly varnished underneath. Okay, so that was easy enough. Then I go and I take this little to kind of just fine tune it. And I go in a little tiny bit on the side because I'm gonna put gold over that. And I want it to just have that really finished, professional look. Okay, so I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna do all that. And the other thing that will do is that'll keep this all smooth so that when I gild it, if there's a lot of either tissue or glaze on the edges, when you go to gild it, those all pop out sadly and show up. And then I use a wonderful pencil and I stick it in, and that just clearly and cleanly puts that in there. When I go to glaze this, it's gonna actually just add a little tiny bit in there, and that will make that solid. So on this one, because it's been sitting, I can go ahead and I can put my gloss on now. I don't want to stick anything on here because of all that dust. So now I'm going to go back into my gloss and do my coat. And again, you know, if I found that one spot, I guess I got them all. I'm just gonna, and if I tilt this, I tend to be able to see better how clear it is and how much coverage I have. I can kind of see where I have excess. Now this is a regular gloss. I am gonna do this one first, see how it dries, and if I need to, I can file it a little bit, and then I'll do a high gloss over it. And for me, that tends to take out, like I can see a little wrinkle here that I couldn't see before, which again is no big deal. It's kind of nice if they're in the beard. I try on anything I'm doing to keep the wrinkles at least out of what I would consider the primary focal point, so like his nose or his face. So there you have it. That's the one side. I'm gonna let this dry. Then we're just gonna repeat that on the other side. Okay, so I didn't do a high gloss on this. I just did the lower gloss and I like it. And then I do one more quick spot. And again, if I weren't trying to videotape this, I normally would not sand right over my workstation. But now what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to add the gold. And this Krylon pen is one of my favorites for these. So what you're going to do is, it's so easy. You just come in and you're just going to paint the sides. And it's easier for me if I put my hand down, so I'm not trying to hold my arms up while I'm doing it. And of course, so when I have been doing it lately too, I've been trying to do like a little bit of an edge so that you can actually see the gold on the side. Some of them don't lend themselves to actually being painted on the side, and I like to keep them clean and white, and that looks really sweet too. But this one, because he's a little more traditional looking, I'm gonna do that. And then I'm gonna go around my edges, and I'm just gonna kind of slowly take that. And if you see, I don't know if you can see that, but it just adds that little bit of glimmer to the side of him, and I love it. And I've even taken the gold and done little highlights in, you know, in parts of his hat or in the holly, just down the side. And I just think it's kind of sweet to add a little bit, if you want, in there for a touch. But I think he looks super sweet, and I will finish that up. Then we will put the ribbon on. So super quick, one thing I should have mentioned is that I do not do this part until at least 24 hours after everything's dried up, because it's gonna let me, first of all, it's gonna let me like sand down any edges. And you can see, like if there's right there, there's a little bit of glaze, or it's a part of the ceramic that's got a little bit of a raised area, but it's not that big of a deal. it keeps it pretty clean. But you want to wait, obviously, too, because you're gripping it and handling it, but you don't want any of that glaze to be even partially tacky when you're doing this part, so that you are getting a really clean finished product. Okay, so after this gilding has dried, the last step for me is to put these little velvet ribbons on, and I love kind of just the finishing touch of these. You can adjust how long you make it. If you're going to hang it on a wine bottle, use it as an actual ornament, or put it on a package, but I think mine are like 11 inches long. These come in all these pretty colors. Almost everything I've made, one of these colors works. This is the gold, looks like, on that other ornament, and I just think it looks so pretty. But the last thing, once you put that on, they come in these giant spools. They're not super expensive. And then the last thing you're going to do is, if I can find my lighter, sorry, is you're going to burn the edges, because you want to make sure that they don't fray. And this always freaked me out when I first started doing it. That I actually got a little bit of black on there, but usually I do not. There you go. Hopefully you like these, and they're super fun to make. Now the second one I'm going to show you really quick is going to be this other one, and I'm actually going to just refer you to, I did a video for kids showing round ornaments that I made, and it was making these cute little wood ones. I just trying to keep it real simple for kids. And if you want to do this round ornament, I just would refer you to that video. It's only like 7 minutes long, but the same method that I used for this, I used for these. I cut the images out individually, or used the water method, which I had never ever heard of until some wonderful lady told me how to do it. But anyway, I hope this has been fun. This is helpful. And again, it's just a fun way to personalize what you're making, add a little touch to a gift, but have it be something that's super simple. Thanks so much for being with me.